Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be talking about some details that Yoshida decided to share on a recent live stream that he did. During this live stream, he was hanging out on the Gaia data center, one of the Japanese data centers, and he was actually doing some content with players. He was also joined by main scenario writer Natsuko Ishikawa, and there's going to be some comment on some of the things that she has worked on in recent times in Final Fantasy XIV. In case you're wondering why my video isn't on the stream, or on the video, which I almost always do for these kind of videos. It's Southern California, it's like 100 degrees, the humidity's higher than it has been in a long time, and I'm honestly feeling a little sick today. So you don't need to see my sweaty, sick, ugly mug, just look at a nice fancy logo on the bottom right. But anyway, the first thing we want to talk about are some details he shared regarding patch 4.06, which is coming this Tuesday on August 8th. It's not a major patch, there's not going to be any major content added to the game. I believe that on top of the things that are mentioned here, the Moonfire Fair will be starting on that same day. And I believe that the Feast is entering its first official Stormblood season on that day as well. And there was an entire post about how the reward system is going to work for that. May do that video right after this one. But what else is going to be happening on 4.06? Well, there were some job changes that we heard about that weren't in the 4.05 change list. So there's going to be more changes for patch 4.06. No mention if the new Shake It Off is going to be here or in 4.1. But he did specifically mention that Summoner and Machinist, among the other jobs, are going to be receiving a few adjustments. I'm not super privy to what Summoner and Machinist really need, so I'm not going to comment on what I'd like to see. I will say, though, the one thing I would like to see are changes to Devotion. At least make it a targeted ability. I hope that change is coming to Summoner on Tuesday. Among other things, there could definitely be other changes that they make to Summoner, and of course, I'm sure Machinists out there have a laundry list of things they would like to see it have. But I don't have any personal recommendations, so you guys can feel free to discuss that in the comment section of the video below. There are plans to make specific system changes for jobs, but it will take some time, so that's not something that's planned for 4.06. That sounds like going back to the simple mode where they have different displays or more simple displays for the job gauges, or maybe even the ability to display it on your buff bar as opposed to that. We don't know what their exact plans are, but there are some requests made by the community, as well as speculations there as well. Now in 4.06, there's also going to be some changes to Ixion. There will be changes made to the reward that players earn when fighting Ixion. Now that's very, I guess, sort of ambiguous. It doesn't say if it'll be just more horns, which honestly would be my guess, or if it's going to be easier to get credit on Ixion. I'd have to assume the idea would be to reward more horns for fighting Ixion, maybe 4 or 6, so that way people who are flooding that zone can get the mount and stop flooding that zone. One of the big reasons that instances were brought back, without a doubt, is because S-rank hunts, and specifically Ixion over in the locks, were creating scenarios where players would camp out for 10, 12, 16 hours waiting for the spawn, so much so to the point where players who were trying to progress through the main scenario couldn't even get into the locks because of the congestion there, which is why instances were brought back. So I'd have to imagine that this adjustment here is going to be them really trying to speed up the rate at which they can then go and get rid of instances. As much as I love it for the triple S ranks, I know a lot of people are, and I do find them inconvenient in other ways, they find them inconvenient. So that's what's coming for 4.06. We'll see what other things are going to be happening, what the other job changes are going to be. Curious to see especially what those Summoner and Machinist changes are going to be. Now for patch 4.1, there was not a whole lot to talk about there. However, among the miscellaneous information is going to be information regarding when we'll hear more about 4.1. So 4.1 will bring a bunch of stuff. Just to rattle it off the top of my head for any who don't know, we'll have the Royal Menagerie Extreme, we'll have the Super Savage Encounter, which we don't know what that's officially called yet. We have a new PvP mode that's planned for the 4.1-ish range. We don't know if it's 4.1, 4.11, 4.15, but it's a siege-style PvP mode that has only 2 teams as opposed to the 3 that we've been accustomed to up to this point. On top of that, we will see new main scenario quests, potentially more Hildebrand, if not other side quests, the return of Beast Tribe quests, or at least the new ones for level 60 to 70, although we don't know which Beast Tribe in particular. We're expecting more job changes, new recipes, and among other things. 4.15, like I said, could be the new PvP mode, Eureka the Forbidden Land, which will allow us to progress our new relic/anima type weapons, are just a few things. I'm sure there are other things I'm missing, especially the 24-man raid Return to Ivalice, which we will talk about a little bit later in this video. Another thing that's coming is housing, and on top of that, swimming will be possible in all the housing areas as of 4.1. Yes, that does include the mists, so if you're looking forward to swimming in the beach in 4.1, well, that's going to be a possible thing to do. Shirogane itself should be available in the 4.1 area. We don't know if it's on 4.1, but it should be, again, between 4.1 and 4.15. So just another thing to add on to the list of 4.1 content. They also did confirm, again, Royal Menagerie is going to have an extreme version. He confirmed that in the interview that I had with him as well, where he said they were trying to make it live up to the hype that was Thornton Extreme. He specifically says it'll be more challenging than Susano, which doesn't really say a whole lot. So we'll see where it falls between harder than Susano, and as he projected in my interview, the desire to make it nearly equivalent to that of Thornton Extreme. Moving on to some more miscellaneous information here at the bottom. Yoshida has been doing some Omega. He even cleared up to 03 Savage with Pugs. I've cleared 03 Savage with Pugs as well, so I know it's something that's doable. Natsuko Ishikawa, the main scenario writer that was joining him, worked on the Azim Step and Dark Knight quests. So if you enjoyed those specific stories, then Natsuko Ishikawa, who previously worked on the Binding Coil of Bahamut, is to thank for that one. They also made a little comment about Susano, where the gap in the middle of the arena that's caused by the sword, you used to have to jump over it, which I guess kind of went against design philosophy, because Yoshida said he never wanted to make jumping required in content. That being said, they almost did it, so we might be getting closer to the point where it is mandatory in content, and we shall see. Personally, I do it a lot in Neo X Death, but now you just have to run over it and don't stand in it for too long. Now, regarding the upcoming live letter from the producer, a lot of people have been wondering when the next one would be. I had kind of forgotten about this, but to celebrate the game's 4-year anniversary since its relaunch with A Realm Reborn, there will be a 14-hour live broadcast, and during that 14-hour live broadcast will be the next live letter, which will begin going into details of patch 4.1, and more specifically the 24-man raid Return to Ivalice, which is going to be on the more casual side, of course, being a 24-man raid, but has a lot of people hyped because they brought on the Ivalice scenario creator, Yasumi Matsuno. He created the Ivalice universe, and he's the one who's working on the Return to Ivalice raid scenario writing. So curious to see what Matsuno can come up with, where the different, where his inspirations come from, if we're looking at a more tactics side thing, which I think we will, and less of the Final Fantasy XII side of things. On top of that, 4.1 will be implemented in the same patch pacing period as usual. For those who are unfamiliar or are new to Stormblood, major patches tend to release about 14 to 15 weeks apart, so about 3.5 to 4 months, usually a little bit less than 4 months. So considering the expansion launched on June 20th, you can then go August 20th, July 20th, August 20th, September 20th, there's 3 months, add another 14 to 21 days, and that's about the time you can expect 3.5 to launch, so about early to mid-October is when we're looking at the next major patch. But anyway, I just wanted to make a video on these details. Haven't had too many 14 videos coming down the line recently. I still have to do some thoughts on some other jobs that I've leveled to max, but I don't feel like I've gotten to do enough content on them, so I gotta get to that first. Anyway, I am gonna go rest my voice a little bit, because like I said, I'm not feeling the greatest. Never mind on that other feast video, we can do that after or tomorrow or something when my voice comes back a little bit. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned, because we will be covering what those job changes are on Tuesday, as well as some other Final Fantasy stuff that's been happening or will be happening in the coming month. I will see you guys for the next video, and until then, take care.